Welcome to the Pride of Detroit podcast, the POD cast. We are back after a brief holiday. I hope you all enjoyed your Memorial Days and maybe took a moment to think of the troops, that sort of thing. My name is Jeremy Reisman, by the way. I am filling in for the adequate host, Chris Perfett. I almost said Chris Matthews. That was weird. He's a host of an entirely different show. But he's off. He is, I would say he has a day off, but he has the opposite of the day off. He is working his other job. So we are running a two-man crew this week, of course, with my co-host, Ryan Matthews, at Ryan_POD. Ryan, how are we doing today?
Ready to play some hardball.
Well done. You were sitting on that. Appreciate that. So we have entered week 2 of OTAs here. They're about to get kicked off. But we're going to take this week to kind of take a step back. We're going to kind of reflect on the offseason. It's been a crazy offseason, all things considered, for the Detroit Lions. So later in the show, we are going to kind of recap the offseason the only way that we know how, and that is with our superlatives. We're going to be talking about our favorite, least favorite, all sorts of other categories, reflecting on the offseason moves that we did like, moves that we didn't like, moves that were surprising, moves that might pay off in the future, moves that might pay off now, all that sort of stuff. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, though, because before we get into that, there are some news items we want to talk about. We kind of want to use this first segment to recap everything that was going on last week. We did have an OTA mini podcast, and hopefully you caught that, where I kind of gave some observations from my time out there in Allen Park on Thursday, but there's some residual stuff to kind of clean up now that the dust has settled from that practice. So, Ryan, what do we want to talk? Do we want to just get the Tavai stuff out of the way, since that seems to be the hot topic since Thursday?
Yeah, I think it's most important that we start off talking about how Jelani Tavai has lost a lot of weight.
Yes, Weight Watchers. That's what we're changing this podcast name to Weight Watchers.
We're also looking to get sponsored by literally anybody. So Weight Watchers, if you're listening. This is the Jelani Tavai segment where we talk about how the linebacker has lost 18 pounds.
Yeah,
that's quite a bit of weight. He was right up there close to 270 playing in Matt Patricia's scheme. You know, losing 18 pounds is quite a bit of weight, and it seems like Aaron Glenn is impressed with what he sees so far. And we talked a little bit about whether or not that's coach speak or whatever it may be, but I don't know. At the very least, it seems like Jelani Tavai is making every effort possible to be a productive member of this roster, right?
Yeah, and like he said, and other coaches have said, just his commitment to losing 20 pounds this offseason, that shows a lot already. That shows a buy-in. That shows an excitement level. That shows dedication, dedication to his craft, dedication to the game of football, all those sort of things. And I don't there's definitely a huge part of me that's skeptical about all this, right? Like that, the main thing being that, the dude was 246 when he weighed in at his combine and his pro day, and all those slow stats that we saw, his 40 time, his splits, his explosive drills, all those were bad at 246, and so he's not even back there yet. He's at 247. So is he going to be a transformed player? No, I don't think he is. But I also don't think Aaron Glenn's the type of coach that's going to feed you BS. I just don't. You listen to the way he talks. You listen to the way he carries himself. He says he doesn't give, the players BS. And so, maybe he does with the media, but I don't know. I tend to believe him when he says, quote, to be as big as he is, he can move fairly well. That was good to see a man of his size that can move like that. Then his ability to bend and get out of cuts, that was pretty impressive. I believe him when he says that. And more importantly, I believe that he's going to fit in this defense much more than he did in the defense under Matt Patricia.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't willing to double down like that, but I was willing to at least say, we'll wait and see. Like, this is one of those times where I think Jelani Tavai has earned himself an opportunity for a second impression.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that I mentioned this on I think it was our quick little Twitch chat, or maybe even the locker room conversation that we had on Saturday. But Jared Davis got opportunity after opportunity, and everybody was willing to say, this is the year. This is the year for Jared Davis. It wasn't the Jim Caldwell, Terrell Austin defense. Like, that wasn't for Jared Davis. Matt Patricia is going to be the one who comes in, and he's the linebackers guy, and that never came to fruition. But Um, I think Jelani Tavai, at least he deserves a chance to at least fill a role. Like
Right.
I don't think anybody who's coming into the expectations with Tavai is going to drop this weight and all of a sudden he's going to be a starter who's playing a ton of snaps every game. He's going to be a situational player,
Right.
but at least maybe he can be a productive guy while he's on the field rather than some of the blunders we've seen from Tavai over the course of his young career.
Well, yeah, I think 2 weeks ago, a decent case could be made that Tavai had no chance of making the 53-man roster. Now
Yeah.
I think there's a chance. Now I think there's a path. Again, I'm with you. I don't think this guy is headed towards the starting role. Maybe some sort of rotational role, something like that. But yeah, I think now he's got a legitimate shot. He's clearly made a good impression on the coaches already, and now he's not going to. I think maybe one of the key things that people are overlooking that Glenn said, other than all the weight stuff, is that he's not going to be playing the edge anymore. Like he's purely off ball linebacker now, and he spent some time at off ball with Matt Patricia, and when you have a 268 pounder playing off ball linebacker, that's a problem. But that's not a problem that the Lions are going to have anymore because they got a guy that's within an acceptable range. I still think they probably prefer their guys more in the Derek Barnes, look of 230, 235, 238, whatever, and sideline to sideline speed, which Tavai, again, is not. But he's going to have a fighting chance now. And if the front four, the front three, however many people they have on that front line, are as disruptive as they want him to be, well, then Tavai's got a good chance to play cleanup crew. Like he's never been a poor tackler in my opinion, and he won't have to overread everything like everyone in Matt Patricia's system did, where they had a billion things going on in their head and couldn't focus. He's just going to go out there, wait for the play to come to him, and make some tackles, and I think that's something that he could potentially do.
Yeah, I think so too. Yep, get him more comfortable in that role that they talked about, playing that stack linebacker,
Yep.
right? That he did at Hawaii. So, see ball, get ball kind of thing. So,
All right, Weight Watchers segment over. Thanks to our non-sponsors, Weight Watchers. Let's move on to attendance. Everyone loves attendance. Roll call at OTAs week 1. Really, I think one of the things that the coaching staff can hang their hat on is, despite all the unhappiness with all the players at the NFLPA about, voluntary workouts and the safety in terms of COVID, the Lions had over 80 people show up, but there were some big names that weren't there, and let's focus on that for the time being. Michael Brockers was not there. Jamie Collins was not there. Tyrell Crosby was not there. There were a couple others as well, but those are the three big names. Brockers, according to Dave Burkett, will return this week to OTAs week 2. Was dealing with some family stuff. We're not sure about Jamie Collins. And then there's Tyrell Crosby. And there's no confirmation on whether this has anything to do with this trade, but it does feel a little bit too much of a coincidence.
yeah, it does seem like a quinkadink, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the guy isn't there for the first week of OTAs. He seems like a guy who would be there.
Right.
Um, from all accounts, like a hard worker, everybody's favorite swing tackle, Tyrell Crosby. So, um, yeah, I think there's a little bit too much smoke here for there not to be fire. And maybe this is them just, fielding offers, kind of, feeling out whether or not they can find an adequate spot, because I'm with Eric Schlitt, and Eric is a big proponent of Tyrell Crosby is awesome depth. He's a guy that you should not trade pretty much by any means. Like, unless you're getting an out of this world offer for him, like Eric's like, no, keep Tyrell Crosby. I'm more so of the belief where it's like, you know what, if you can get like a 5th rounder, or even like maybe even a 6th rounder, like if it's just something that can help you down the line, whereas Tyrell Crosby is going to be a free agent this upcoming offseason, maybe it's best to see what you can get for him. Because tackle depth isn't. I mean, yes, it's something that is a concern for any NFL team as you progress through the season, but the Lions have other tackles that they can throw out there, and I'm still, though, like, I mean, I would rather have Tyrell Crosby on my team than not on my team. But I think it's right of the Lions to at least, like, if he doesn't factor into their future plans, why not see what you can get for him?
Yeah, and I think it's, first of all, when you said I'm with Eric Schlitt, all I pictured was a T-shirt that said I'm with Eric Schlitt and like an arrow pointing in one direction. Felt like I had to get that out. But with Tyrell Crosby, yeah, I think I'm somewhere in between you guys. Like I understand the importance of having that third offensive tackle that can start. Maybe the Lions think they already have that. Maybe they think Tyrell Crosby. Maybe they've already talked to him about an extension, and he's asking. He's like, I want to test things out. I want a chance to start. And that's clearly not going to happen here. And so they're like, okay, well, then let's start talking trade because, I mean, we've all talked about how 2021 is a rebuilding year. No one's expecting anything. So you're right. Like, if you can go out and get something for him, great. I doubt you can get anything better than a fifth. Maybe that value goes up in the middle of the season if you want to hold him on till the trade deadline. Maybe a team like, what happened to the Chiefs, maybe a contender has something like that happen to their offensive tackles. But in terms of his attendance here, I don't think it's a coincidence here. I'd be very surprised if it was just like, oh, I was, at my sister's wedding or something. Doesn't seem likely. It seems way too much of a coincidence. And as someone in our live chat pointed out, there was a photo gallery of just a workout today, not technically an organized team activity on field, and Tyrell Crosby was not part of that photo gallery. So I think it's fair to say that he's probably sitting it out. I guess the important date is next week when mandatory minicamp comes. And so if he doesn't show up for mandatory minicamp, which he could potentially get fined for not showing up to, then we know we got a problem on our hands, a big problem where he'll essentially have forced the Lions' hand, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think maybe right now, if I'm a gambling man, which I've been known to be here and there, I would say that probably Tyrell Crosby and Brad Holmes have something worked out right now, where it's like, you know what? If you don't want to be here, I wouldn't show up if you don't want to be here, because we're trying to work things out on our end. And when mandatory minicamp starts, if they haven't reached an agreement with any team to send Tyrell Crosby anywhere, I would be really shocked if he wasn't there.
Yeah, I think I would be too. He doesn't seem like the type that would rock the boat too much. But when a team says, "Hey, you're on the trading block," you can be like, "All right, well, then I'll just start working out by myself." Like I get that, I guess. All right, let's move on from Tyrell Crosby. Do we want to even touch on Todd Gurley? I feel like we've kind of talked enough about Todd Gurley. Any closing thoughts really quick on Todd Gurley? I mean, the Lions have not signed him at this point, and it doesn't appear that necessarily they're going to at this point unless they're waiting for something.
Yeah, it seems like it gets more and more strange by the day, where if they were going to have an agreement hammered out, it seemed like they would maybe have gotten things done by now. Like, right. I have we heard anything else about him visiting with any other teams? It seems like really only the Lions that he, came and had a visit at Allen Park, and he left without a contract. So I think with each passing day that Todd Gurley isn't signed, it gets weirder and weirder.
Yeah.
And it's almost like go visit somewhere else, so like we can stop talking about Todd Gurley coming to Detroit, which I don't have a problem with. We've talked this Todd Gurley thing to death, but I think the place where I'm at right now is like, if you want to sign him, just go do it. Have him be RB3, and just I'm cool with it if that's what we want to happen.
Yeah. And I guess it's worth pointing out that Todd Gurley tweeted out afterwards, literally Thursday night from the Detroit Metro Airport, like, what a great airport trip. Met up with a bunch of good friends and things and yada, yada, yada. But yeah, now we're recording this on a Tuesday, 4 or 5 days later. Nothing has happened. As you said, Gurley hasn't visited any other place, and it looks like just in a holding pattern. But I think the reason why we can probably move on from the Todd Gurley saga here is because the Lions did fill up the 90th spot on the roster on Tuesday morning when they signed defensive tackle Brian Price, former Packer, former Cowboy, former Jaguar. I think there's another team in the Browns. Undrafted guy, but has played a little bit in this league, about 4 or 5 years. He had a season in which he played about 14 games, 300 so snaps at defensive tackle. Mostly a nose tackle guy. I mean, I hate throwing around the term camp body because I feel it's kind of disrespectful to the player himself, and you bring a player in for a reason, but nose tackle is going to be a tough spot to really climb the depth chart at, because obviously the Lions drafted Liam Mcneil. Aaron Glenn even mentioned John Pennicini in his little press conference or whatever. So I think he likes the two guys that they got there, and even carrying two is questionable. Are they going to carry two nose tackles? Maybe, but three is almost certainly no. So any thoughts on Joel Heath on Brian Price and his chances of making the roster?
Yeah, I think the one thing that you talked about Brian Price, the journeyman, who's really made pit stops just about in every division you can find in the NFL, is that he does have experience with Lions defensive line coach Todd Wash from the time that he spent in Jacksonville. So maybe there's that level of familiarity and comfort with getting a guy that and you've coached a little bit. I think we're all really sold on Lee Mcneil because of his draft slot and, him just being highly touted third round pick, a guy, a lot of people gave second round buzz to. Definitely going to be a part of the roster without a doubt. And while they've talked about John Pennicini, like he was a 6th round pick.
Right.
And, I think they're going to keep 2 nose tackles. I do agree with you. Like 3 is probably a stretch, but maybe there's a way Brian Price works his way onto the roster and literally has to work his way onto the roster because he's joining an already crowded room. So maybe a chance. I don't know. Outside shot.
Yeah. And I mean, he's a guy who, like you mentioned, Todd Wash has coached him. He knows what to expect out of him. And maybe he's a quote unquote veteran, even though he hasn't played a ton in the NFL. He has been in the NFL for 4 years, which means he knows the ins and outs of being on a team, ins and out of practice, ins and out of working with Todd Wash. So even maybe just having that veteran experience for a guy like John Pennicini, who's in his 2nd year, a guy like Lee Mcneil, who's in his rookie season, maybe that in itself is worth it for the Lions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think so.
Last note on him really quick too is that John Dorsey also signed him when he went to the Browns. So another mini connection there. Connections. All right, we're going to wrap up the first segment there. When we come back, off-season superlatives. We're going to slow things down, kind of reflect on everything that's happened since really even before January. We're going to reflect all the way back until the moment in which Matt Patricia was fired. We're not going to talk about Matt Patricia and his meteoric rise at New England. We're going to let our friends at Pat's Pulpit talk about that.
How dare you?
Anyways, Who cares? When we come back, off-season superlatives. So stick with us. We'll be right back. Okay, chat. Let's talk about it. We've got a brand new layout. Isn't it pretty? That was one of our surprises. Number 2, as many of you already found out, we have a lot more new emotes, including a luchador mask, and a tinfoil hat, Ryan, and some MCDCs. We have one more surprise for you. Boom! We have an intermission overlay where, guess what? We can see you guys in the chat now. Look at that. Isn't that neat?
I love it.
Anyways, let me catch up on alerts. I will spam this. Yeah. All right. We're putting a certain level of trust in you guys to not. Now I have to figure out how to maybe we'll put this over here during the intermission. Not to abuse your privileges of being on screen. I will wield my modding powers if I have to. But anyways, let me catch up on some alerts here. D-Man came in first with the 6 months total, 5 months in a row subscribing. Then our good friend Tyler Boster with the 10 months. Nick the Greek with the 100 bits says, God bless you guys for creating content during the slow news off season. Nick the Greek, that is a surprisingly G-rated message. I'm proud of you. Patman with the 10 bits. Nick the Greek with 1 bit says, what if we trade for Julio Jones? Not going to talk about that. Nick the Greek with another 10 bit says, covering Lions has caused Jeremy to have salt and pepper sideburns. Yes, that is true. Sadly, that's true. Another 10 bits from Pittman, who just throws a bunch of cheers in there. Appreciate that. And XLJ featured with the 3 months using that Twitch Prime. Thank you guys for that. Appreciate you.
Golf claps all around.
All right, let me catch up on some chat here. Pride of Lightning. What are we, the Tampa Bay Hockey? Why do you say just the colors? Is this a Lightning color scheme? Maybe a little bit. Or is it the... Oh, you mean the Lightning. No, that's for the MCDC logo. Like ACDC.
Or Gatorade.
Or Gatorade. Does anything happen if we hit the sub goal? No, not really. Not at the moment. I just kind of threw it out there because I saw some other streamers doing it and it seemed to get people excited sometimes. No pressure to hit the sub goal, but I'll probably just continue to move it as we move on. There you go, Nick the Greek. Now you're feeling it. Hey, 1,000 bits from our good friend Katie from MIs. Just with throwing a bunch of MCDCs in the chat. Love it. Thank you for the 1,000 bits. 1,000 bits. Been wanting to ask you since I saw Burkett tweet it last week. Did you see that he said Calvin is getting his money back? Is that true? If so, do you and Ryan have any thoughts about that? Yeah. Oh, so, okay. This is a complicated one for me because the way Burkett worded that tweet made it seem like he wasn't reporting it. He was just kind of assuming it was going to happen. Do you know what I'm talking about, Ryan?
Yeah, I do. I do know what you're talking about. Yeah, he really made it seem like it was not inevitable. Isn't really the right word, but like it was like on the horizon. Like it was going to happen.
That had to be the next step. Felt like what he was saying to me. I want to see if I can pull the exact tweet out for you because I mean, okay, so yeah, here we go. So I'll just this is gonna be harder to do with the new overlay, but basically here I'll just read it. He said the Lions are going to give Calvin his money to get him back on the fold. It's just a matter of how the payments are structured to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. Like Burkett is a guy who's careful with his words and wouldn't say something if he didn't believe it to be true. But I just didn't read it as something like they're in talks of it happening, because then you listen to Eric Woodyard. Who had a full interview with Calvin last week when he was, launching his new cannabis strain or company or whatever. He said this of when money came up. Where did it go? Sorry, I lost the quote. Here we go. Johnson told ESPN that he hasn't been given any of that money back, and the Lions have yet to communicate any plans to do so with him. So kind of combining those two together, to me, it just sounds like Burkett knows like that's eventually where things are going to go. Maybe he's gotten, some sort of notification or indication from the Lions that that's what they want to do. And if that's so, maybe it is. Whoa, alerts are happening. Hold on.
They are happening.
Let's see. We had Windy City Meatball subscribe for 4 months. There is the mega alert from Lefty Detroit dropping a 5-bomb on the chat. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. RS Holland dropped a subscription via Twitch Prime. Thank you for that. 1,001 bits from Nick the Greek, who just felt the need to one-up Katie from Michigan. Says, where's Chris Perfett and his Pulp Fiction mask? Bring out the gimp. I probably didn't have to really read the parenthetical there, but I did.
Probably not, but you did.
He is currently working a shift over at Fox Sports Detroit. We did have a little bit of miscommunication in that I think he thought our plans were to stream yesterday. I had not made it clear that I didn't think we were going to do that, and so we had to do it on Tuesday. In a way to make it up for Chris, he will be joining us for First Bite this week on Friday, where we will talk about Ifeatu Melifonwu with the Syracuse beat writer.
By some grace of God, we were able to find somebody from Syracuse who wanted to talk about Melifonwu.
Yes, I went through about 4 different people, and Syracuse's beat writer for college football is not a deep bench, as you'd probably imagine, but we found someone, and we're grateful for that.
Was that a cross-sport reference, Jeremy? Was that basketball references out of you?
Kind of, right? I mean,
not a deep bench.
Oh,
that's a basketball term.
Did you see I made a wrestling reference today on Twitter.
You did a what now?
A wrestling reference.
You?
Yeah.
Why?
It was because it was on that video of the woman shoving the bear to save her dogs.
Oh, what did you say?
I said my favorite part of the video were the little dogs talking shit even after the lady shoved the bear off the top rope.
Oh.
See?
I mean, I'm not as nearly as impressed as I thought I was. But...
Top rope, that's a wrestling term. I did it.
Oh my gosh. The
hype train is off the rails. That's a train term. Level 5 is we have maxed out level 5, which is also the max level. Thanks to, in part, let me catch up again because we're not even all the way there. I just talked about Nick the Greek. Line in London then gifted a sub. Then Lefty Detroit dropped that aforementioned 5-bomb. Then RC Vader dropped 6 months using that Twitch Prime. Line in London then gave 7 more? Is that a 2 and then a 5? I think that's a 2 and then a 5. Maybe a 1 and a 5. So 7 total, I think. Appreciate that. More bits coming in. 5 bits from Irwin_NCL saying choo choo. Appreciate all the support, y'all. That came out of nowhere. You guys have been itching. We take one day off and you guys come at it. I appreciate all that.
Oh man.
Watched a wrestling movie and it was pretty tight. Fighting with Family. Recommended. You know that one, Ryan? Fighting with Family?
Yeah, I think Fighting with Family it's a story about Paige, right? And I know I'm not talking to you, but I'm talking to Harry B. Bad. I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I haven't watched it yet personally, but I got my fiance. We're gonna watch the 30 for 30 Ric Flair documentary. Did you watch that one?
That wasn't part of the original 30, right? We're way
wasn't
past
part
that.
of the original 30. No, yeah, way past that. But it was really good. It was about an hour and 14 minutes. What did we watch? What was the last good thing that you watched, real quick?
I watched Shrill on Hulu TV show. Pretty good.
So I started that.
Yeah. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
I mean, like I can watch it, right?
Yeah.
Gosh, what did we? Oh, I finished watching Joker last night.
That was your first time?
Yeah.
I watched a superhero movie. Maybe you'd get offended by calling this a Batman movie, but I watched a Batman movie before you did.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough Thomas Wayne and Wayne family in that film, I think, for it to be considered a Batman movie.
That's a good point.
It's a Batman
what happens
movie
to him?
Jace. Spoilers, Jeremy. Spoilers.
What'd you think? Real quick.
In 3 words, it was fine.
All right.
Why did Joaquin Phoenix win Best Actor for that?
I thought it was a pretty interesting role. I thought he did a good job.
I mean, yeah, just walk around and smoke cigarettes. I don't know. He did look pretty badass.
I mean, he walked down to the stairs to that rock and roll song.
I know.
Do you remember? Did you forget about that awesome part?
I did. Sorry, Oscar, right there.
I think my favorite thing to come out of Joker is that people started like dancing on those stairs in New York, and people were like, "Get out of here!"
Got pissed, didn't they? Yeah.
Just like stop. Like this is like a part of town that you guys would never be in otherwise. So get the hell out.
That feels like a very New York response to something.
Right. All right. I still have to catch up on alerts because every time I think I'm done, more comes up. I missed 100 bits from Nick the Greek who says, "Ask that guy about Pasqualoni while you're at it." I'm not sure what that's in reference to, but I think. Oh, Syracuse.
Yeah.
It just clicked once I read it out loud. Then we got 1 bit from Captain James Kirk who says, "When do I get famous for my jingle?" Good question. I don't know if we're just going to feature that at the beginning of every podcast or what, but I didn't listen to it back on the podcast feed. Did he throw it? Hopefully Chris threw it somewhere in there. I think he did. It was a fantastic jingle. Do we want to listen to it again?
It belongs there. I mean, it can't hurt before we jump into segment 2.
True. Before we do that, though, Veltron68 with the 5 months, Crook FTW with the 8 months, and I think we're caught up. I don't think that sub goal has moved yet, so hopefully when it clicks back to where we're at, we're closer. Oh, and Lefty Detroit also wants a Goose cameo if that's possible. Is it not possible?
It's not possible.
Aw.
Refund the man his money.
I need a mod to do
Yeah,
that
he
because
just left. He was here for the weekend, and then summer starts pretty soon.
It does.
School's almost over, so Goose will be here a lot more often, and he'll make a lot more podcast appearances.
Okay, that's acceptable. All right, now I have to go back to our old format here to show you guys the jingle here. So here you go, jingle time.
Welcome to the Pride of Detroit. We've got
Hold on. It was too quiet to start. We got to go here. Ready?
Welcome to the Pride of Detroit. We've got everything Lions. We've got Chris, Eric, Ryan, and Jeremy Reisman. Tune in on Twitch to get all of the content. Join us at prideofdetroit.com.
It's so good. It's just the ending is so very jingle worthy. Prideofdetroit.com. All right, now let's get us back to our off air. There we go. You're back, chat.
Ooh.
Does Ryan have split custody of Goose? No.
No, I've done that before. My mom has been watching him ever since my accident, and I've kind of been concerned about whether or not I'll ever get full, I guess, custody back of him. Because she was an empty nester after I left the house, so getting a dog like Goose was quite a handful. So she has appreciated his company. But I miss him. I miss him, dude. He's such a good
miss
dog.
him. I just miss seeing him through the screen, laying on that bed of yours.
All right.
With those
and
big
you know
ears.
What? Soon enough, we'll have a Zazu Goose play date.
Yes.
Go play some trivia.
Zazu. Speaking of which, I have a couple Zazu cameos to fill out. Zazu, get off the bed. Come here. There you are. Hey, buddy. Come here. Come. Oh, boy. Oh, don't pull out the microphone. Oh, he's a big boy. He's getting bigger. Over under 5 interceptions for Okuda. If under, why does that feel like underperforming when the Lions are emphasizing rushing the passer?
Ooh. 5 interceptions is a lot of interceptions.
It is.
I'm gonna go under.
I think I am too, but I'll let you explain first. I have a reasoning.
I feel like interceptions are way too fluky.
Yeah.
I feel like interceptions are even more fluky than sacks. And it's not one of those things where like people are going to throw away from Okuda, but at the same time, like say Okuda gets his hands on like 4 or 5 passes. Maybe he just tips them and then they end up in somebody else's hands. Yeah. Like that almost feels like just as good as an interception. Sure. You know what I mean?
That's an interception assist. That should be a stat.
Ooh, I like that. Don't tell anybody about that because PFF's going to start tracking it.
Damn it. Hire me. No, I think, and someone in chat has already caught up to the point I was going to make. I think a safety is going to lead the team in interceptions. In fact, and the reason I say that is because Aaron Gled specifically said, like, I'm excited about our safeties. If you look at our time in New Orleans, our safeties were the guys that always had 4 or 5 or 6 picks in our scheme. And so I think a guy like Tracy Walker could very, 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 very well lead this team in interceptions next year. And nothing, against Okuda. Like if he shuts down half the field, or if he gets a bunch of pass breakups, or if his, passer rating allowed is low, that's good enough for me. I don't need the 6 interceptions. I don't need the 7 interceptions. Turnovers are great and turnovers are huge, but I don't necessarily need them out of Okuda to have a successful season.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter now has to see the dogs every time I turn on the POD.
Let's see Detroit.
Yeah.
That's why I show up for the podcast, to be honest, is just to see the dogs.
Yeah. And by the way, I saw your message about posting that fan post for you. No problem at all. If you guys ever have any issues with the site, whether it's technical or you got someone bugging you or you got a question, feel free to always email me. The email's on the site. I'll say it out loud right now too. prideofdetroitjeremy@gmail.com. You can email Ryan, but I'm not going to give out his email. You're just going to have to figure it out.
No, don't do that. Don't email me, because if you email me, there's a very good chance I am not going to respond to you. Unless you have, like, good questions.
You're going to sign Jeremy up for porn. All right, well, it'll probably go to my spam folder, but maybe I'll appreciate it. Who knows? I'm a cold-blooded man. Who knows?
Second segment.
Is that a sign that we should move on? Is that,
I think we've jumped the shark.
Okay, fair enough. All right, I haven't yet put the transitions to the new overlays on my Stream Deck, so I have to manually just click it here. All right, back to where we were. Give me a second, chat. We'll get back into it. And we are back on the POD cast. My name's Jeremy Reisman, filling in for Chris Perfett this week as the adequate host. We did a little OTA Week 1 recap at the top. Now let's just back things up, talk about the offseason. It's been long. It's been eventful, been busy. Let's pump the brakes here before we hit a major snag in the offseason where not much is happening, and just reflect. And we're going to do that using superlatives because we love superlatives. It's radio fodder, it's podcast fodder, and it's fun. It's fun because you guys can give your own answers at home, and we want to hear them. So when you're listening to this, I want you to scream it out as loud as you can. I don't care if you're at work, in traffic, at home, trying to go to bed with this podcast. Scream it as loud as you can. Sound good?
That sounds phenomenal. Yell so loud that our dogs will hear it.
All right. First up on the off-season superlative list. Best long-term decision. Ryan, you came up with a lot of these, so I'm going to give you first crack at this one.
I don't want to upset you from the start. I don't want to upset the listeners from the start. I know this is a touchy, sensitive subject.
Just hit the 15-second skip button, everybody. You don't want to hear it.
If you don't want to hear it, here's your opportunity to skip ahead. But it is trading Matthew Stafford. I think that was the best long-term decision that the Lions made this offseason. And let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about a guy who's 33 years old, has missed significant time with injuries over the past couple of seasons. I think that when it comes to Matthew Stafford and his time with the Lions, like, it's something that I'm always going to look back on and be happy with.
Sure.
Like, 2016 was one of my favorite seasons of being a sports fan. Not even just being a football fan, but like 2016 was one of my favorite seasons just watching sports. And that was all due to Matthew Stafford. It was game-winning comeback after game-winning comeback. Now, with that being said, I think that it just made a lot of sense for a team that was re-entering a rebuild, whether or not, Brad Holmes wants to call it that. I think that it was really important for the Lions to move on. Who knows? I mean, it remains to be seen whether or not Jared Goff was a good decision, but I think trading Matthew Stafford and getting a couple of first-round picks, getting a third-round pick, I think the Lions did good. I think like this was probably the peak at which you could trade Matthew Stafford and still get that kind of a return, because look at like what Carson Wentz fetched. Yep. You know what I mean? So I think that was the best long-term decision that the Lions made this offseason.
As much as it pains me to say it, you're absolutely right. I can't come up with a better answer.
My God.
Then in a move that nets you 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and a quarterback that'll bridge the gap. I mean, that's a great move. It's a great move to start a new regime. It makes a ton of sense, and we can't give the Lions all the credit for it because Matthew Stafford was the one that kind of jump started. And would Brad Holmes have done that if Matthew Stafford was just sitting there and fine? No, probably not.
Right.
But the Lions handled that just about as well as they've handled anything in franchise history, right? Like, there's not really many times when you can just be like, wow, Lions kind of nailed that. And I know there were some people that thought maybe they should have taken a different offer, whether it was the Panthers or whoever. But overall, the Lions handled that with dignity. They got a heck of a return, I think. And They're better off for it in the long term. No question about it. But in the effort of being different, I will say a different one. I do think, and this wasn't a move I was actually that big of a fan of at the time, but now that I've had time to kind of digest it and see how it all played out, I think adding Chris Spielman to the front office was one of the best long-term decisions that they made, because I think when we were all kind of wringing our hands when the GM search was going on, right? Like, Jesus, like we just got done with the Fords doing a half-ass search. Rod Wood looks like he's running the show right now. Who's going to make this decision for the general manager? Chris Spielman steps in and brings a sense of legitimacy, and he brings in NFL connections. I mean, he's a guy who's been on Fox forever and doing all these interviews. He knows everyone in the NFL, and I think the Lions GM search was one of the most thorough things that they've done in a long time. It was certainly more thorough than the last time they looked for a GM, and I think they did a fantastic job of it. And who knows what he's going to continue to do in the front office. Kind of sounds like he has his hand in everything, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. But the fact that he got in there and really steadied the ship when they were at its most vulnerable, I think, really provides me with a lot of short-term and long-term kind of comfort.
Definitely better than Ernie Accorsi.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. All right. We did best long-term decision. So what do you think is coming next, chat? Why don't you yell it out right now? Yeah, that's right. Best short-term decision. I don't know when this turned into Dora the Explorer. I'm sorry. Best short-term decision. I'm going to start first.
Go ahead.
The best short-term decision was not splurging in free agency. The Lions decided short-term, we're going to take all the cap hit now. In terms of dead cap, we're going to release all these guys. And in the short term, we're just going to get a bunch of guys on one-year deals. That way, I mean, it's a perfect scenario both for these players and the Lions. They're not hooked to them long term. They're getting guys that are hungry, that have everything to prove. So they're going to give them everything they've got this year. And like I said, it's not going to keep the Lions on the hook for a long time. A lot of these guys come with, big questions, injury questions, end of their career questions, whether they still got it, that sort of thing. And so the Lions are giving them what they need, which is an opportunity to start. And they're giving the Lions what they need, which is potentially, high ceiling play at a cheap rate. And I think that's really smart in the short term. And I think we could see it pay off in 2021. Like, if all of these guys tend to hit their ceiling, like maybe the Lions, like we said in the locker room podcast, maybe they can hit that kind of 500 ceiling that they have. If it doesn't, who cares? Nothing long-term lost either. So it's kind of both best short-term and long-term decision for me.
Yeah, no harm, no foul there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the Lions did a really good job in their approach in free agency as well. But my best short-term decision that the Lions made, oh boy, not franchise tagging Kenny Golladay. I think that could have been a really, really sticky situation, because look at the way that the wide receiver market played itself out. And for a team that is at the, it's at the very genesis of a rebuild, I think spending a lot of money on a free agent or potential free agent wide receiver is not really the way to go about doing that. Yeah. So, Brad Holmes could have been pressured into doing that, whether or not, because it couldn't have maybe just been like a strictly football move. And I think we all agree that Kenny Golladay is really, an impressive wide receiver. He's a talented wide receiver. But at the same token, you look at this Lions roster, who are the guys that they're going to put on the side of Ford Field? You know what I mean? Just from like a marketing strategy, like there really are no like faces of the franchise anymore. Like, gone are the Glover Quinns, and gone are the Matthew Staffords, and gone is Marvin Jones as well. So, I mean, Kenny Golladay could have been one of those things. It's like, well, this team still needs like an identity, and we need to be able to like sell the fans on something. So bring him back. But, the Lions were smart in not franchise tagging Kenny Golladay, not having, a super, because that would have also really affected their approach to the rest of the offseason as well. Because, I mean, you're talking about a franchise tag that would have been in the neighborhood of, gosh, how much was it, Jeremy? It was something
17.3 or something like that.
Yeah, it was like $17-ish million. So, I mean, that would have been a significant hit to their cap. So I think one of their best short-term decisions that they made all offseason long was not franchise tagging Kenny Golladay.
during you talking, I heard some people yelling out some answers, and long term, a lot of people were yelling out the best long term decision was Frank Ragnow. A lot of people were saying the best short term decision was Don Muehlbach. Keep them coming. Keep yelling them into the ether, everybody. But now we're going to move on to a couple negative things. Most painful point in the offseason that isn't Matthew Stafford related. I'm going to throw it right back to you.
Yeah, let me take this one, and I think that I can speak for quite a few people, yourself included, but it was painful to watch the Lions just rush the card in again at number 7. I'm really happy with the Penei Sewell pick. Like, those things are not mutually exclusive. Like, I can be torn that the Lions didn't move back and accumulate more draft capital at the very beginning of a rebuild, and I can be happy that they drafted Penei Sewell, but I was just a little torn up that, you know, the Lions, it seemed like they were right there at the right spot to trade back, and it didn't happen. And it was just one of those, for me, I think that was the most painful point in the offseason where it was like, yes, like it can happen. Like there's players that they can get, and it didn't happen. And it's just like, damn it.
And honestly, like hearing Brad Holmes talk about it afterwards didn't help. At least it didn't help me.
That's a great point too.
Because it seems like he had his mind set on Sewell from the beginning, and just whether it was, you know, his first NFL draft and he just wanted to make sure he got one of his guys or whatever it was, he seemed hell bent on Penei Sewell. And listen, having confidence in your pick, there's nothing wrong with that. But you also have to be open to either other options or open to admitting like maybe you're going to get this wrong. You can never be 100% certain. And so, I mean, you don't need to hear me bang the drum for trading down, even though you're going to hear me do it a little bit later as well. But yeah, I think part of the reason that made it more painful, maybe not so much at the time, although I was frustrated when I saw that like they ran 4 minutes off the 10-minute clock where everyone else was running it down to 2 minutes later. It was just like, just hang on to the phone a little bit longer. Maybe that dream offer is waiting until the 5-minute mark. And, you know, he called Penei Sewell before he was supposed to. He was supposed to give him a minute. And that's how excited that was. And that sort of eagerness is both exciting and a little bit frustrating. So I'm with you there.
Yeah.
But
what about for you?
For me, it came a little bit later on that exact same day. And nothing's set in stone at this point. Like I can't say like Penei Sewell, it might or might not be a success story and then come out and say, well, Justin Fields is going to destroy the Lions for the next 300 years. I'm sure of it. But to see a lot of Lions fans be in that boat where they wanted Justin Fields and then see him go to the Chicago Bears, it's kind of painful. It was kind of painful. And not even from a standpoint where I believe in Justin Fields or I thought the Lions should have drafted Justin Fields. Just knowing that now that is going to be a storyline for the next 5 years, whether the Lions made a mistake in not only drafting Justin Fields, but letting him slip to the Chicago Bears. Now that is just something that it could potentially be the move like Eric Ebron and Aaron Donald that just like sticks in this fan base. Like it's something that people might not ever forgive general manager for. And I'm not saying I think that's going to happen, but now that has been put in everybody's brain, right? That the cards fell in the worst possible fashion, if that's the timeline that we're living in, and that's sad. I don't want to think about the Bears doing something good and the Lions doing something bad.
Never do you want to do that ever.
But who knows? I mean, the last time the Bears traded up for a quarterback, we all know what happened. So,
good point.
All right, good point. Another semi-negative one. Actually, we got 3 negative ones, and we're going to bounce back to positive ones. Move you wish the Lions would have made this offseason.
Okay, yeah, let me grab this one because I think that we were all talking ourselves into it because we saw the connection. We were almost like reading the tea leaves, maybe a little bit too intensely, but there was also like some reports that the Lions were interested in this guy. I believe like Benjamin Albright like said that not necessarily saying that Lions had interest, but he like thought like that just seemed like it made a lot of sense because it made a lot of sense to a lot of people. John Johnson III not signing with the Detroit Lions and signing instead with the Cleveland Browns, especially like after the details of the contract came out, 3 years, 33, almost $34 million, $24 million guaranteed. But I mean, for maybe who might be in that conversation for the best safety in the entire league. I know that PFF ran they're running like their top 32 at each position on their 2021 NFL season preview, and I believe it was Sam Monson. He had John Johnson III at number 3 in the NFL in terms of safeties. So I mean, an incredible talent, a guy who was drafted by Brad Holmes and company, and a spot that the Lions just have not really addressed all offseason long is safety. So I think for me that stands as the move that I wish. He's the guy who got away, Jeremy.
He is, and I think as we saw the offseason kind of move on, we understood why. The lines
it made sense, right?
The lines are pretty tight against the cap the entire time.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think maybe in an alternate universe in which the Lions maybe trade with the Panthers instead of the Rams in the Matthew Stafford trade and don't take on a big contract like Goff's. Maybe they work something out where they have the cap room to get a guy like John Johnson, but with the direction that they took that was really kicked off by that trade with the Rams, I think the Lions didn't really have a choice. But I'm with you. Like even at the time, I think we were all like, this is something that it still makes a lot of sense. They could certainly format the contract in a way in which it would be doable. It'd be tricky, but it was doable. So I'm definitely surprised that it didn't happen. Not too torn up over it, but I do think they need to do something at the safety position, and that would have been a great way to add a guy that knows what he needs to do, would lock up the position for years, and he'd be pricey, but I think he would have been worth it.
Be pricey, but also a guy that could grow with the rebuild, right? Like he isn't a guy who's like in his 30s.
Right.
He's also not like too young, but he's like right there at like the prime of his career. He could really like grow into, I just like kind of saw him as being like Glover Quinn 2.0, like that player on defense that everybody loves.
I'm not going to talk too much about my answer because it's trade down in the first round. We just talked about it.
Done that.
I did say my second option is trade Stafford to the Panthers, which I think would have been an intriguing option. I'm not saying it's better or worse. In general, I rather have more picks than higher picks, which might not make a ton of sense to a lot of people. But I think I'm with it. Like I'd rather have 2 first-round picks than the 8th overall pick. That's just how I feel, especially with where the Lions are at.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have minded the quarterback that the Lions were going to get in return.
Big old Teddy. All right, one more before we head to our first break. Then we're not done. We've got plenty more superlatives to go. But the last one and it's another kind of negative one. But don't worry, we'll turn things around here in the final segment. The move that has you still scratching your head. I'll start first.
Yeah,
me first in the game of games. Not re-signing Matt Prater. I don't get it. Why? Why? Matt Prater signed a 2-year contract with the Arizona Cardinals. Do you know what his cap hit is this year?
What is it?
$2 million. You can fit that. That's not too much. It bumps up to $4.5 million. That's still not that much. What are you doing? We had something good going. He wanted to be here. He was fine. He wasn't as at his best last year, but the dude still kicked a 58-yard game winner. The dude can still boot the crap out of the ball, and you got a player that wants to be here that's not, he was probably willing to take a discount, right? Like, he's not that expensive anyways, but you have to imagine given, like, he had family. He said it, like, I have family here. Detroit feels like home again. Like, yeah, I want to be here. I want to be, like, I don't mind being part of a rebuild, whatever it is. And he goes off and signs a very small contract with the Arizona Cardinals, and you're just like, nah, we'll just get some guy who can't kick anything past 52 yards. What? I don't get it.
Yeah. I think that's a great answer. It's honestly better than my answer. I'm not going to co-opt it, so I'll give you a different answer.
Okay.
The move that has me still scratching my head is releasing Kerryon Johnson.
Okay.
And I think at the time, I wasn't really scratching my head because I think things seemed to make sense. It was like, okay, Jamar Jefferson in the 7th round, but they clearly view him as a potential, RB3. They signed Jamal Williams. They have DeAndre Swift. They have 3 running backs. Great. But then when Todd Gurley comes to visit, it's like, but But you just had, what's going on? Like, why release Kerryon Johnson if you're going to bring in a guy who, on his good day, like, can maybe do some of the things that Kerryon Johnson could do really well, and that's pass protect. Like, I mean, it's well documented how good of a pass protector he is. If you want a rotational guy who, can maybe handle the workload in case things go sideways with DeAndre Swift or Jamal Williams, and you can't really trust a rookie running back in that situation in Jamar Jefferson. Yeah, so that's kind of the move. Like, that just leaves me scratching my head with the Todd Gurley information in mind.
Ryan, I'm going to solve this whole thing for you and ease your worries.
Do it.
The Lions brought in Todd Gurley to be the youngest running backs coach in the NFL. Boom.
Deuce Staley's on the line. Deuce.
Well, that would be crazy, though, right? I mean, they former players, right? Like, there we go. No one's knocking on Todd Gurley's door to play football. So, hey, why don't you come in here and coach the team? He needs an assistant. Deuce Staley needs an assistant running backs coach. There you go.
This just makes so much sense now. What the Lions are actually doing, Brad Holmes is a trailblazer. Not only has Dan Campbell assembled a coaching staff full of former players, but now they are going to start employing players.
Current players. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm not scratching my head anymore.
There you go. You're welcome. All right. And with
Thank you.
with that, we'll take a break. When we come back, more offseason superlatives as we break down the happenings of the Lions offseason. And then next week, we will look forward to mandatory minicamp and all things of that nature, thrown back to Jim Caldwell. Anyways, we'll be right back on the PODcast. Transition. Whew.
Jeremy, can you put up a poll for me?
Yep.
So I have to order dinner right now.
Okay.
Because we don't have anything to make. Now I'm staring at Leo's Coney Island.
Mm-hmm.
I have 3 options. One is a chicken finger salad.
Okay.
The second option is a chicken finger pita. There's kind of a trend emerging here, but I promise the third one won't be chicken finger related.
Can I guess?
The third, yeah, go ahead.
Chicken Parmesan.
Chicken Parmesan? That'd be wild. No. A country skillet.
Oh, it's a little breakfast or dinner?
Yeah.
All right.
What should I eat tonight, chat?
You got 2 minutes, chat. Chicken finger salad, which strikes to me as just chicken fingers with a vegetable garnish.
Bed of lettuce.
Yeah. Chicken finger pita or a country skillet. So here's a question. Who did the previous regime actually successfully develop in their time here? Romeo Okwara? Kerryon Johnson? Maybe? As a pass blocker?
Kenny Galladay.
Kenny Galladay, sure. Sure. I'll accept that answer. Maybe TJ Hawkinson?
Frank Ragnow?
Frank Ragnow's a good answer. Ryan, do you see the poll right now?
I don't. I'm counting on you to be my eyes.
Do you have a guess at what's leading right now?
I feel like it's the chicken finger pita.
Well, there's a minute left, so I'm not going to tell you yet.
Oh my gosh. Can I tell you that I kind of hedged, because here's what happens. If I get the chicken finger salad, it comes with a piece of pita bread, so I can essentially just like scoop up the lettuce of the chicken fingers and have a chicken finger.
But are
pita.
you concerned about them splitting the vote? If they split the vote and then Country Skillet runs away with it, you're left without chicken fingers.
Oh no, maybe
it's like a community situation.
I'll order the Country Skillet, but I'll have them add chicken fingers.
I thought about it onward, but then went back to him training with kegs and whatnot last offseason with his bro. Oh, I missed something. Vote South Park. Is that? I think that's a Community reference as well. What happened to the results? Oh, there we go. Oh, well, for some reason I can't pull up the results, but Chicken Finger Pita did win. I'm almost certain.
I see it right now here. Yeah, it says that 19 votes, 50% of the vote went with Chicken Finger Pita.
There you go.
All right.
What did you want? How am I not myself? Easy choice? Oh, you didn't say, though. Must have wanted the skillet. Yep.
I wanted the chicken finger salad.
Why? Why did you just order it? Why did you put it up to chat?
Because they earned this, right?
100 bits from Nick the Greek says, thank you. Thank God for this captivating content, right?
I'm a man of my word.
What other football podcast is giving you Leo's Coney Island orders? We've earned the right to his diet. Shredder was on your side. He voted chicken finger salad.
Thank you, Shredder.
What is Ryan's lookalike? Have you ever been compared to a celebrity?
Yep. Mcneil.
Oh. I don't know what Mcneil looks like. I bet that's shocking to you.
Not really.
And to be clear, we're not talking about NFL Draft Scout.
No, we're not talking Matt Miller.
Wait, what did you say?
Mac. Like Easy Mac. Like mac and cheese.
Okay. This picture really looks like you. We're going to have to switch to our desktop. Hold on, let me make it so. If you had like a shaved head, I could see it right there.
If I had
it's
a
kind of
shaved
like
head.
A mix between you and Jesse from Breaking Bad.
Oh. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Was he redheaded? Is he redheaded?
More like strawberry blonde, but like I kind of have that in my beard. My hair's more brown. I don't know.
Dave Matthews' brother.
Too many T's.
Key Lime is judging you for not getting a Coney dog, FYI.
I'm 30, man. I can't eat Coney dogs
I knew you were going to pull the 30 card. I knew you were going to pull the 30 card. Ryan turned 30 a couple weeks ago, everybody.
Full disclosure, I ordered Taco Bell nachos last night. But I've been paying for it all day. That's why.
I rang the bell today.
Get a Crunch Wrap?
Huh? Oh,
Did you
of
get a
course.
Crunch Wrap?
Yeah, Crunch Wrap, 2 crunchy tacos. That's my order.
Bring back the spicy chicken Crunch Wrap, you bastards.
Ben
Raven, right?
Ben Raven,
I think I saw this conversation.
Yeah,
but
he told me
what you guys were
like
talking
you can ask them to swap chicken, but not spicy chicken. And I keep forgetting. I need to just tell them to swap chicken.
How do you draw the line at that? It's like you can do chicken, but no, not a spicy chicken.
Well, probably because there's like a spicy chicken mix somewhere, and it's discontinued at this point. I don't think is there a spicy chicken anything on the menu anymore?
I don't know.
I don't think there is.
Dude, I screwed the pooch last night when it came to the order though. Like my fiance, she wanted chicken chalupas, and I got her naked chicken chalupas. she opened that thing up and she was like, "What the hell is this?" And I was like,
to be clear, that's the chalupa that is made out of a chicken as the
chicken shell. Yeah.
Very
different. Eating it. She's like, "I don't know if I hate this or if I tolerate it."
I thought she was gonna say, I don't know if I hate this or hate that I like this.
Yeah.
I've never had it. I'm sorry. I can't trust that big of a piece of chicken from Taco Bell.
Like molded into that shape too, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
Someone asked there it is. Edward is God. What is your opinion of Tim Hortons? I haven't been to a Timmy Ho's in a while.
I'm a big Tim Hortons guy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Coffee or breakfast or
Coffee.
everything? Coffee.
Yeah, their biscuit sandwiches are really good.
Ooh.
So they usually have some kind of, oh man, I think it's like a 2 for 4. Like it's like a 2 for 4 kind of deal where you can like mix and match different breakfast sandwiches.
Speaking my
But
language.
their biscuits are pretty good. Do you know who wasn't speaking your language? Wasn't there an NFL player that was talking shit about salmon and lox?
Oh yeah, it was one of the fullbacks. I think it was Kabinda.
It was Kabinda, right?
Yeah.
Because didn't you say like Nick Bodden FB1 or something like that?
yeah. I didn't put it on Twitter because I'm not about to put a Lions player on blast over their food
For
takes.
his food takes.
But here I am on YouTube doing it, or Twitch and YouTube, I guess. But yeah, Nick or not Nick Bodden.
Jason Kabinda.
Jason Kabinda is not a fan of lox sandwiches, which is the best breakfast sandwich out there. Is bagels and
It
lox.
really is. Yeah.
And I will not hear any counter arguments in the chat. But yeah, no. No, I don't know what happened to Tori Petrie. I assume she left on her own volition. I don't know. I think I said on Thursday. I said hi to her on Thursday, and the topic didn't come up. I didn't know she was leaving, and then we got home Thursday night, and the news was there. So I don't have any inside information there. I don't speak regularly with her enough to know. And I probably wouldn't say anyways, even if I did know, since she hasn't said anything. So let's see. A little more food talk we'll get in here before we jump back in. Wish they had the double-decker taco that they took off the menu. Yeah, is there a Taco Bell item that you miss these days that they used to have?
Aside from the spicy chicken crunch wrap,
Right.
think of Mexican pizza. They don't do those anymore.
My mom used to love the Mexican pizza. I don't think
Really?
it's very good though.
No,
How do you eat that thing?
with your hands.
Very carefully, you blew it.
God damn it! You are Kristen.
That's what I'm here for. Jeremy, do you know? Oh, I already read that one. Anything else? Listen, bagels and lox is a breakfast sandwich. Must be weird to be so confident yet so wrong. Kirk, how dare you? Oh, Mrs. Ruby is here. Hey, she called you other guy. That's his
We're
name.
talking about food. Oh, thank you.
We are talking about food. With a spork? Yeah, I guess. Do they even still have sporks at Taco Bell? Oh, you DM'd me?
Do they have sporks at Taco Bell? I think so.
Is that the same one that came back? Oh, it did come back. Oh, you need another stamp, huh? I miss sporks. My mom also always used. I don't know if they still have this. Do they have the Pintos and cheese? The just little like mini bucket of Pintos and cheese.
Dude, that's so weird. Is this like a mom thing? Because my mom loved Pinto.
Really?
She would use those all the time. Yeah.
I bet they don't have that anymore. Any Pintos and cheesers in the chat?
Pintos and cheesers in the chat.
Pewdie should open a restaurant and name food after players. We actually, I remember we had a not so short conversation about like opening our own pizza joint or something. Do you remember that?
Oh, opening our own pizza joint?
Yeah. Just kind of as a joke.
Vaguely, I kind of remember this.
Yeah. Oh, you had a list cast idea? I missed it. Scroll up. What's the category? List cast? I didn't see the category. Top 3 discontinued fast food items. The problem is I don't know what's discontinued anymore. Like,
yeah,
I'm not. I wouldn't answer this, but is like the double-decker sandwich at KFC, is that still rolling?
I don't think that's a thing. But I remember I ordered one of those, went home, and watched the Lions draft Ndamukong Suh.
That's a good memory.
I'll give you one of mine, but it's purely for nostalgia.
Okay.
Like, I don't think that they were good, and they weren't good for you, even
Yeah.
though they were marketed.
Well,
to
we're
be
talking fast
such.
food, of course.
Yeah. Do you remember the salad shakers that they had at McDonald's?
Yeah.
That came in the cups.
They came in like the McFlurry cups.
Yeah, and you would like just pour the dressing in, and you shake up the salad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I miss the salad shakers.
That's a throwback. I had not thought of those in a very long time.
Yeah. Can you think of any?
I'm having a tough time. Does Burger King still have the Cine Minis? I used to love those little mini Cinnabons they serve for breakfast with its own dipping sauce.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if they still do those, but those are good.
I love those.
I remember one of my friends, he got his license before all of us, and we literally scrounged up all of the money we could, and we woke him up by picking him up. And we're like, we're going to get Burger King breakfast. And we were like carrying him out the door. We're like, you have to drive. He's like, I hate you guys.
I don't get the cravings for fast food breakfast anymore. I don't think there's any good ones. Like, I'll probably still down a what's the McDonald's thing with the pancake buns?
McGriddle.
I'll eat a McGriddle. But, like, I tried Wendy's. I tried
Wendy's
Taco
not any
Bell.
good?
Wendy's has, like, a honey bar. I don't like, not honey barbecue, but, like, some sort of, like, honey chicken sandwich thing that is just awful. It's the worst thing I've ever tasted.
Is it worse than Taco Bell's breakfast crunch wrap?
No, it's not. It's not. Taco Bell's breakfast crunch wrap is horrible.
A-Jarm
just said the exact opposite in chat. He said the AM crunch wrap is great. Oh wow. Yeah, there you go. The honey butter chicken biscuit. Whatever sauce that was, it was gross, it was sloppy. It made me
not good, huh? Yeah.
I work there, so I'm kind of to me, if you worked at a fast food restaurant and you still think the food is good, you're objectively right. So I'm wrong. I concede. If you worked at Taco Bell and you think Taco Bell's food is still good, then you're right. Yeah. And I say that as someone who worked at Little Caesars and does enjoy Little Caesars. And I know that's a controversial opinion as well. For $5, Little Caesars is great. Their breadsticks are delicious. Very doughy, very buttery. It's a great deal. Sponsor us, Little Caesars. We are now fake sponsored by Little Caesars and Weight Watchers.
Money talks.
Whoever pays us more, we'll continue to talk about them next week.
You know, I think objectively speaking, the worst quote unquote fast food is Subway.
Ooh. I don't think that's true. Subway's bad.
Subway bread is awful.
Yes.
It's terrible.
Yes.
Like, you have to avoid the bread at all costs, and then if you're doing that, why are you there? It's Subway. Like,
I can con myself into thinking that I'm eating healthy when I throw, like 6 low quality vegetables in there. I just throw like green peppers that don't taste like anything, and tomatoes that probably have some sort of salmonella or something in them, and spinach that definitely has salmonella in it.
All of the vegetables you're putting on are like the majority of the nutrients are water.
But I can tell myself that I'm eating something quick that is also not bad for me.
Yeah, and then it's like, what kind of dressing you want? Chipotle ranch?
Yeah, then you just load up on 3 different sauces. If you're ordering tuna from Subway, you're nasty boy, like you're living up to your name there. You're a tuna? If the quickest way you can tell someone is a freak is if they order the seafood delight from Subway. That person has no grip on reality. No grip on reality.
What do they put on that besides tuna?
I don't even know, but I know it's like it's. Yeah, I think there's fake crab in it.
Oh,
Imitation crab. That like Frank Caliendo does better imitations than imitation crab.
oh man, hold on. I think
That was
all right.
me. Frank Caliendo does good impressions. I just don't think he's that funny.
Okay. So here's what. All right. Oh my gosh, it's discontinued.
Worst discontinued item from Subway is the seafood delight.
Like I just looked up. It was on fastfoodmenuprices.com. It said the Subway seafood sensation is a discontinued menu item that was so popular.
What?
There's a Facebook page dedicated to fans who want to bring it back to the menu.
Oh. I mean, look at this monstrosity, guys.
Made with imitation crab
Look
and
at this.
plenty of mayo.
Oh,
The 6-inch version of this sandwich can easily be replicated at home by mixing your own seafood salad.
This guy is smiling in horror. Oh, God. Okay, that's obscene. We don't need to read all that.
All right, but I was going to say, if it wasn't discontinued, I was going to say, like, we could set a subscriber goal, and I'll eat a seafood sensation on stream.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's terrible. That looks awful. See, Subway sucks.
Mrs. Ruby will make that for you. Yeah, you should. Yeah, make a seafood delight sub next stream. But please make it with anything other than imitation crab. Anything other than imitation crab.
I just love how it says made with imitation crab and plenty of mayo.
Oh gosh. Oh yeah, perfect. You make it on Friday. Meatless Fridays. Smart. Subway slaps Italian sub. When I went to Subway, when I was in the period of my life in which I was going to Subway regularly, I think the BMT was where it was at.
All right, but can we just have a real quick conversation about subs and getting them from Subway shop or submarine sandwich shops? I don't know why I don't know why I properly call them by their full government name. But you're 100% putting Jimmy John's ahead of Subway.
Sure. Yep.
You're 100% putting Jersey Mike's ahead of it. Whatever
Mike's.
happened to Tubby's?
Okay.
I love Tubby's.
I just realized this is not going to sound great, but there's a Tubby's connected to the gas station right by where I live, and it's delicious. And I get the taco sub from there all the time.
It's still there?
Yeah.
I thought Tubby's went under. That's awesome to hear.
Nope, it's still there.
Yeah.
I've now given a big clue as to where I live, but I'm not going to live there for long. So too bad, stalkers. I'm moving. You got a month.
If you PayPal Andrew Cotto enough money, he will let you know where Jeremy Reisman lives.
Ton of Tubbies at the Novi area. I did not know that. There's some Firehouse subs love in the chat. I've only been a couple times.
Firehouse subs? I've been twice, I think.
In general, I don't do a lot of hot subs. I'll do toasted, but not like. Guy? I'll do toasted. That's different though, right?
Yeah, I mean, because like you'll toast like the bun, but like you want the ingredients to be cold.
Yeah, fairly cold.
Yeah,
Big
or like
John's,
room temperature, I guess I should say.
I've never heard of a Big John steak sub. Is that the one that Darius Slay was?
Yeah, Big John's is good.
That's one that Darius Slay was repping for a while?
Yeah, there was one in Flint that I used to go to an awful lot. And speaking of that, can I get some DeBella's subs in the chat? Have you ever been to DeBella's?
I don't know what that is either.
Oh, you should. It's worth a pilgrimage.
Mrs. Ruby threw in the Quiznos sub monster thing commercial. What were those things called? Didn't they have a name?
Oh yeah, I can't remember.
Who cares if we get DMCA'd, right? We're gonna watch it because it's ridiculous. Oh wait, gotta change. There we go.
We love these songs, 'cause they are good to
Sponge monkeys. That's what they were called.
Punch monkeys?
Sponge monkeys.
Oh, sponge monkeys.
They got a pepper bar.
Quiznos new Santa Fe.
All right. They do have a pepper bar. Those are facts, as the kids like to say. They say it like that, right? Those are facts.
I think they go no cap.
Oh, no cap. Okay. We have messed around for far too long. Let's get back to our pretty new outlay. Who's sending me things in Slack? Is it you?
Yeah, it's just a Google search so you can find the nearest DeBellas.
Perfect.
And thank me later.
Not a lot near me. But one near to where I'm moving. Another hint to where I'm going to be living.
Oh.
All right. Let's move back to our on-air layout. And we'll get back into it. What were we talking about?
I don't know, but I feel like I just entered the quiet storm.
All right. Back here, closing out the POD cast, finishing off with some more off-season superlatives. We're talking about our favorite, least favorite, and a whole bunch of other things about the Lions. Very busy off-season this year. Let's move on to our next superlative. We just got done talking about some negative things. Let's move back over to the positive and our next superlative is the point in the off-season when you drank the most Kool-Aid. Ryan, your answer I wanted to steal. But I knew you were going to have this one because I remember just how pumped you were when this happened.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't just sipping Kool-Aid at that point. I was pouring it down my gullet.
Little two-handed action.
Like a young Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was all about the hiring of Aaron Glenn. And I think for a couple of reasons. One, just who he is as a coach. Okay, so I mean, you're getting a guy who was at the lead of that renaissance that the New Orleans Saints defensive backs had. He was a guy who was a candidate for head coaching jobs, and he ends up coming to Detroit to be the defensive coordinator. So for one, it was just a slam dunk hire because he's an awesome coach. The second thing that it signaled to me was like, oh, Dan Campbell's going to be able to put together a staff. Like, Dan Campbell's got hella connection. Dan Campbell's going to put a good one together. And it all really started with that Aaron Glenn signing where I was like, yep, the guy's going to be able to do it.
Yeah, that leads perfectly into my moment of Kool-Aid consumption, and it actually came from Dan Campbell's introductory press conference, but it wasn't Dan Campbell who said it. It was actually out of the words of Rod Wood, of all people, that had me drinking the Kool-Aid, and that was when he was referring to Dan Campbell in a conversation he had with Saints general manager Mickey Loomis. He said, quote, this is Loomis saying through Rod Wood's, quote, Dan is the kind of head coach that coaches are going to run to Detroit and want to be on his staff. Now, I remember when the Lions hired Dan Campbell, I was not necessarily the most excited. I actually looked back today at an article I had written after, actually right before, it was entitled something like, if the Lions hire Dan Campbell, I will blank. And I said, be patient. Because I wasn't thrilled about it. Because I didn't know a lot about the guy. I knew he was going to be the rah-rah type, but I didn't know what he was going to do with the on-field product. I didn't know what sort of schemes he would build, and so my philosophy was, let's just wait and see what kind of staff he builds. And it turns out that became mega important because it does seem like he has his hands off the scheme and is letting those coaches coach. And yeah, I'm excited about the staff that he built because, yeah, it turned out to be right. There were some other teams looking for some of these guys. Deuce Staley was a hot commodity. The Lions got him. Aaron Glenn, hot commodity. The Lions got him. Yep. And they just continue to roll, like with former players, with guys that are, have their arrow pointing up. Aubrey Pleasant is another guy who has his arrow pointing up. And, you can say what you will about Anthony Lynn, but now the Lions have a guy who's got head coaching experience that can help Dan Campbell along the way.
Yeah.
The Lions staff was fantastically put together. And yes, it's all theoretical at this point. Yes, we're kind of just hyping new guys that that haven't proven themselves, at least in Detroit. But a lot of these guys come with really good pedigree. A lot of these guys were highly sought after. And they came to the Detroit Lions, who just traded away their franchise quarterback and are clearly a year or two away from even competing for the division. That speaks volumes for Dan Campbell, and Rod Wood warned us that was going to happen.
Yeah. It just, an absolute home run with all of the hires that he made. So, but that leads into our next offseason superlative, Jeremy.
Yeah. Let's do the opposite. The point in the offseason where your hand was hovering over the panic button.
And I feel like you just did a really good job of describing it, but it was like the hiring of Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
I think that there was a lot of, and rightfully so, there was a lot of importance being heaped on that decision and where the Lions were going to head in their next direction when it came to a rebuild. And it seemed like they needed to get this hire right for not only the rebuild, but also to kind of cleanse everybody's palate from the coaching staff that they just had to let go.
Right.
And it was really important that the Lions got this right on multiple fronts. Like, they needed a guy who was awesome in terms of his outward facing persona, and they needed to get a guy who was going to turn the product around on the field. I was a fan of Dan Campbell after the first press conference, and I know people have their own opinions of it, and his name kind of got dragged through the mud a little bit there, in terms of
Sure.
The national media and kind of using him as the poster child of how the Rooney Rule is kind of just a farce. And I don't think that anything could be further from the truth.
Right.
Like, I think Dan Campbell is 100% head coaching material. And you look at the rest of the staff, it's not going to surprise me if Aaron Glenn is a head coach sooner rather than later. It's not going to shock me if Deuce Staley is a head coach sooner rather than later. So, he's got an awesome staff that he's put together. But just hearing the words, the Lions have hired Dan Campbell, it was like, you mean Matt Campbell?
And it all came about relatively quickly. Like, we were talking about
quick.
all these candidates, and like Marvin Lewis was even thrown in there for a while. I don't know if they ever really interviewed him, but I just remember, like, I think it happened on a Friday. Todd Bowles and there was someone else canceled their interviews, and then it was like, either the Lions have not done as much research as we thought they were going to do, or they've made a decision. And it was kind of scary at that point, because we were all talking about how much of a due diligence they were doing, and as far as I know, Dan Campbell is the only guy that they interviewed twice, right?
I think that's right. Yeah.
So there was a fair amount of skepticism at that point, and fair skepticism, and maybe it's fair to continue to have that skepticism since he hasn't really done anything yet other than bringing, like we said, what we believe to be a really good coaching staff, which is a big accomplishment in and of itself. But the wins and losses aren't there yet, so we'll kind of wait and see. I'm going to stick with Dan Campbell here, and people might not like this, but I started to hit the panic button a little bit while on vacation, mind you, listening to the what's the name of the podcast? The Pardon My Take podcast.
Yeah. Yep.
Dan Campbell goes on there. They ask him, it's the fourth quarter. There's 4 minutes left. You're down by 14. You score a touchdown. Are you going for two? Now, if you don't know, it's now kind of become commonplace due to some analytics to say go for two here. The reasoning, I could get into it if you really want to know the numbers. Just search, going for two, down 14. You'll find it on Google. But analytics say it makes a lot of sense to go for it. Dan Campbell said, nope, kicking an extra point. And then he went off to say all the things that every coach says when they're going against what analytics say, which is, well, it depends on what happens. It depends on the scenario. It depends on how we look. Yes, analytics takes all that into consideration. Analytics knows all that things. And then some people are like, well, he knew about it and he explained himself and it made me feel better. Well, to me, it's no. He knew it. He knew what the right answer was, and he still said, no, I'm going to go against the analytics and do it my way. This has been my concern. One of my bigger concerns about Dan Campbell from the start is that he's a little too stuck in old school thinking. He says it all the time. Now, he does also say, like, become more aggressive since I've worked with Sean Payton. But he's not there yet. He's not where I want to be there yet. And granted, a lot of NFL coaches aren't there. most NFL coaches probably aren't where I want them to be because I'm kind of way at the extreme of analytics. But the one thing that Dan Campbell is not going to really be delegating this year is on-field decisions like this. And to be clear, this specific decision, I'm not that worried about. It doesn't come about that often, and when you're down 14 with 4 minutes left, you're probably not going to win that game most times anyways. It's more the overall philosophy that this is showing, which is Dan Campbell will play with his heart more than his brain. And that's what I'm afraid of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fair. I hope that the Lions are down. It's weird to say this, but I hope the Lions are down 14 week 1. And Dan Campbell gets a chance to totally redeem himself.
He won't. He won't. He said he won't.
Competitive advantage, Jeremy.
Oh. All right. 2 left here. Let's start with the most underrated offseason addition. Go for it.
Quentin Dunbar. I think that Quentin Dunbar is going to be a starting cornerback for the Detroit Lions. And I know a lot of people are gung-ho. They're excited about a potential pairing of a couple of young corners and Amani and Jeff Okudah. But I think the Lions signed Quentin Dunbar to come in here and be a starter. And here's the thing about Dunbar. He had an incredible season in Washington in 2019. Like, I mean, according to PFF rankings, he graded out as an 87.6 in that 2019 season. That was the second highest mark of any cornerback in the 2019 season. Dunbar had an awesome season. There were high expectations that they had for him going from Washington to Seattle. People were like, he's going to be an awesome scheme fit. He's going to do even better than he did in Washington. And then he had his worst season by PFF standards. A lot of things going on with Quentin Dunbar last season. Yep. One, off the field stuff in terms of legal issues. And the second one, injuries. So, I mean, you put those two things together, it's a lot of stuff to overcome, especially when you're not also considering, hey, it was COVID season. There's all those other obstacles you want to throw into the blender and just watch a season go right down the drain. So I have big hopes that Quentin Dunbar can bounce back and be more like his Washington self. And a lot of that has to do with, Aubrey Pleasant. A lot of that has to do with Aaron Glenn. A lot of that has to do with the staff that the Lions have kind of assembled here. But I think that Quentin Dunbar is going to be one of those signings that you look back and you're like, man, Brad Holmes knocked that out of the park in terms of his bargain bin, searching that he did this offseason.
Yeah, I feel like I can't talk about the subject because I've already been pegged as the anti-Amani Oruwariye guy, and
you are.
And slating Dunbar as a starter pretty much means that he's not going to be, and so I'm just going to let you have that one on your own and give my own answer. My answer is Tyrell Williams. I'm kind of sick of how much disrespect this Lions wide receiving core is. It's not good, and I'm certainly not one of the crazy fans that thinks this is somehow an upgrade. But Tyrell Williams is a 1,000-yard receiver. Like, he's done it. If he can stay healthy, and I know, it's a big if. I threw out an if, and there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. He missed all of last season. He missed a couple games in 2019. But this guy pulls in 60, 70 receptions every year. Every year. And he was forced into a starting role in Oakland and wasn't his best season. But, I mean, Oakland's Oakland. They've got their own issues. He had his best years when he was with who? The Chargers. Anthony Lynn. I think he can give you average wide receiver play, maybe slightly below average for a number one. And that's not bad. Like, not everyone can be average or above. Literally half the team, half the league has to be below average. So the Lions will be below average, but I don't think they're going to be god awful. I think he has a chance to put up 800, 900, maybe cross over the 1,000-yard season again.
Yeah, I think that if he's healthy, I think that you can almost take a 1,000-yard Tyrell Williams season to the bank. Like, I think that he's going to be that featured.
Boom.
I think that he's going to get that many opportunities because you kind of look at the rest of the roster. I will say that I know you said that people need to kind of pump the brakes on all the Lions wide receiver room slander.
Yeah.
But beyond Tyrell Williams, I mean, you're talking about like guys who are literally reclamation projects. Like, sure. Tyrell Williams at least has some stats to back it. Like you said, 1,000-yard receiver one year. 60, 70 balls a year. I mean, Brashad Perryman has just been like injuries after injuries after. Khalif Raymond. I mean, you're talking about guys that, Quintez Cephas, Geronimo Allison. You're talking about a lot of guys who haven't really done a whole lot in this league. So,
the depth. I mean, if Tyrell Williams does get injured again, like, okay, now we're in the conversation. Now we're talking about, worst Lions receiving core in a very long time.
Very long, maybe ever.
Maybe, but I mean, then you just dump the ball off to, your tight end or your running back, and things are happy again.
Can I quick sidebar of one of my favorite stories I've heard from school?
Sure.
So they had a play that they installed called it was a tight end screen. So it was just like a tight end dump play.
Sure.
And the guy who was catching the pass, his nickname was Big Nasty. So they called it the Big Nasty Dump. That was the name of the play.
Oh boy. Thank you for that. I needed that imagery right before I ate some dinner. All right.
At least I'm not getting Coney dogs. All right.
Final superlative here. Most overrated offseason edition. Ryan, I don't understand what I'm reading here, so I need you to explain it.
Okay. The most overrated offseason edition is the Lions coaching staff.
What?
I know. It doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense, but
we just spent 5 minutes rating the hell out of it.
I know. I love every single hire that they've made. With that being said, coaches aren't going to turn this team into like a 500 team this year. So that's where the coaching staff is a bit overrated. It's like you need talent. You need players at the end of the day. You need guys who are established, who have done this stuff in this league before. The coaches can't go out there and play. I mean, they did at one point, and maybe they could. Maybe at some point they need to utilize the player coach. But I just think that people need to kind of temper their expectations. If this team isn't successful, I don't want to see that. I mean, context always matters, right? But if this team underperforms, I don't want that to be like a reflection of the coaching staff then.
Right.
Like, I don't want them to be like, well, I mean, this coaching staff was supposed to be so great. Why aren't the Lions good? Like, that's where I think that the coaching staff is kind of being overrated in the sense, like a grand scheme.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no. And there are certainly fans out there like, he's going to reclamate Deshaun Hand. He's going to reclamate Tracy Walker. He's going to reclamate Will Harris. He's going to reclamate Jelani Devay. Like, everything on the defensive side is going to be fixed due to Aaron Glenn. All these players that are destined right now to have a failed NFL career, he's going to turn them all around. That's where I think you have a good point. Yeah. It's like maybe one or two of those. I think Tracy Walker probably has the best chance out of that group to actually become a good player. Even Jeff Okudah, obviously, who, I wouldn't even say his career's in trouble at this point because we're only 1 year into it. But I think now that you've put it into context, not that these are bad coaches, but that they aren't miracle workers.
Exactly. That's a great way to phrase it.
My most overrated offseason edition is undrafted free agents. The end. You guys love undrafted free agents. A couple will make the team. None will have an impact this year, a positive impact. Get over it. Sorry.
Just taking a big nasty dump on the UDFAs.
That's right. And we're going to leave it at that. That has been off-season superlatives. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the PODcast. We will be back live Friday sometime. Check Twitter to know when exactly that time will be to talk about Ifeatu Melifonwu with a Syracuse beat writer. We'll also be live on our Locker Room app Saturday mornings. Again, check Twitter to see what time that will be.
Which we have heard they are doing a little beta for the Android
users
out there.
I don't exactly know where to find that, but Android users look out for the Locker Room beta app where you could potentially join us. Follow Pride of Detroit on the Locker Room app and join us Saturday mornings for those live Q&As. But until next time, I'm Jeremy Reisman. That over there is Ryan Matthews. Thank you for listening. It's chaos. Be kind.